All right. Well, if you're listening to this, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Football. Like Logan said, we were going to record the next week, and here we are. Logan, how surprised are you?
Honestly, pretty surprised with us. So we just need to keep it up.
Yeah, we do got to keep it up. Unfortunately, the season will be coming in this Sunday, but the USFL will begin in, I think, April or some. So, maybe we'll cover that a little bit. So we'll see. But we recorded last on February 1st, but as soon as we got done recording, there was a source saying Tom Brady was planning to sign a one-day contract with the New England Patriots and retire with the franchise in which he played for 20 years. So I think that's awesome, especially that he was willing to sign a one-day contract to go back to the Patriots. So that was a nifty little thing. And then it was also reported that Jim Harbaugh was supposed to be the Vikings' next head coach, but he interviewed the next day on signing day and informed Michigan that he was returning. And he said he was never going. It just wants to stop. I don't know. But what I was saying, he informed Michigan that he was coming back and that he was never going to talk to another NFL team again. But I don't really believe that.
Yeah, never say never.
Never say never, exactly. And another team's going to come calling. And reportedly, he wants a 10-year, $100 million like John Gruden got a couple of years ago. I don't know if he'll ever get that, but I'm sure there will be a team that will be willing to do it at some point. So I don't know. We'll see. Also, that night after we recorded, the Denver Broncos announced that their team was up for sale. So they will have new ownership. Logan, you got any pennies laying around? Let's try to go buy the Denver Broncos.
You know what? Honestly, man, I'll throw in $5 to buy the Denver Broncos.
Well, hey, the one team in the NFL that we could actually become part owners of would be the Green Bay Packers, because they're not owned by a person; they're owned by like a share of people. So, like, if we wanted to put a part into it, we could own a part of the Green Bay Packers.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've actually thought about doing it. I don't know how much a share is, but I mean, I think there's thousands of people that own the Packers. Because I'd have to look more into it. Maybe our Super Bowl podcast after we jump into the Super Bowl. Maybe once I do my little research on that, we could talk about how much it is and how many people actually own the Green Bay Packers. But
also, in other news, though, the Washington football team has got a new name. Their new name will be the Washington, D.C. Commanders. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I'll be honest. I think the name is fine. It's kind of, every new team name, it's always like, ew, like, that sounds dumb. But after 2 years, you're like, okay, like, I can get down with that. Kind of like with the Washington football team. You're like, at the beginning, you're like, wow, they can't even make up a name for themselves. But then after the last 2 years, some people are like, they should just keep it as that. It's fine. Washington football team. It's the only team in the NFL that didn't have like a mascot, but like we were fine with it. Like soccer teams really don't have mascots. They just call themselves soccer clubs or football clubs. So like it kind of grew on me, and I think Commanders is fine. I just didn't like their logos. I think they could have did something better. But actually, after I was looking at the helmet, so the W that's on the helmet, I was looking at it yesterday, and I kind of thought to myself, I was like, I don't know, maybe that's not as bad as I thought it looked. But again, the Commanders is kind of a hard logo because it's like, what is a commander? Like, I mean, so I give the logos they went with. So I don't know. I think it's fine. How about you?
It's a new name. It's gonna take some time to get used to. So we'll see how it pans out. Maybe it'll roll off the tongue pretty good in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, the next little news was last podcast, you made a prediction. You said the 49ers would keep Jimmy G, but the next day it was reported that Jimmy G and the 49ers are working on to find a trade partner together.
Okay.
So
So I can my prediction will still come true. They don't find a trade partner.
I think my problem with that is if they didn't find a trade partner, I think Jimmy G would ask for a release because I think it's Trey Lance's team. You don't draft a quarterback top 5 and let him sit 2-3 years. I mean, so it's inevitable. I think Kyle Shanahan wants Trey Lance to take over. But let's speaking of the 49ers, the Miami Dolphins did hire their offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. Now, I don't know much about Mike McDaniel, but from what I've heard, it sounds like it's a good hire. What's your thoughts?
I don't know much about him, but I mean, he coached with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and those two are doing pretty good in the NFL right now. So
Oh,
we'll see how he does.
yeah. Well, fun fact about that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Mike McDaniel is actually from. Okay, here I found it. The Washington coaching staff in 2013 had offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan, QB coach Matt LaFleur, wide receiver coach Mike McDaniel, and tight ends coach Sean McVay. That's the fourth head coach to come from that staff. That's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. But with those other names, like, I mean, if he's anything like McVay, LaFleur, or Shanahan, I mean, the Dolphins got a good guy, a good hire, I think. Um, and a little fun fact I learned about him is, I think he's like 5 years sober. I heard he used to have a really bad alcohol problem, but he's 5 years sober, and he got a head coaching job. So it sounds like everything's going right for him right now.
Good for him.
Yeah, but the also with the 49ers, they did hire former Chargers head coach um, as their QB coach, Anthony Lynn. But since Mike McDaniel has left, I think Anthony Lynn will slot in at OC for them. So they did replace him pretty quick. So they do got another guy ready to go to step in. Before we get into more head coaching talk, it was reported that the Steelers clearly prefer Liberty quarterback Malik Willis over Pittsburgh QB Kenny Pickett. I'm not really surprised about this. Malik Willis, I think, out of all the QBs, I think he has the highest ceiling. But I do think Malik Willis isn't ready to start. But if they do go Malik Willis, he's kind of like Lamar. He's a big running quarterback. He's got a good arm, but he just needs time to develop. But I don't know. Myself, I like the Pittsburgh connection, and I think it would just be cool to see Kenny Pickett go from the University of Pittsburgh to playing for the Steelers. But that's just the little connection that I like and would like to see. But let's get into more head coaching talk uh, before we jump into Alvin Kamara talk. But let's see. After last night, so we talked about Mike McDaniel, but also was hired. Let's see. The Vikings hired Kevin O'Connell, so offense coordinator for the Rams, and also the Jaguars have hired Doug Pederson, so former Philadelphia Eagles coach, and the Texans have hired Lovie Smith, former Illinois, former Bears, former Buccaneers coach. So, do you have any thoughts on any of those hires?
It's really cool to see Lovie Smith hired. I'm really excited for that one.
I'm excited for him to get another chance. It is kind of weird that he's getting his third head coaching job. in the NFL. Although he did do well with the Bears, and it was weird that they let him go after a 10-6 season. But in Tampa Bay, he was not very good. Again, that was a few years. That was like, I don't know, 5, 7, 8, 9 years ago. So when Tampa Bay wasn't very good. So I know that didn't go well. And then, of course, we all know, at least I know, it did not go very well at the University of Illinois. Again, Illinois isn't really a big powerhouse, so it was the coach before him did not leave it very well. So I don't know. I see. I think I love seeing Lovie Smith. I think Kevin O'Connell, of course, coming from Sean McVay's coaching staff. I'm sure he'll be good. But I'm really interested to see how Doug Pederson does. I didn't think Doug Pederson was awful in Philadelphia. I think we talked about it. I think he got let go because of some owner and him having problems or GM. I don't know what all really happened in Philadelphia, but I'm interested to see. I think it's a solid hire. They couldn't get it done with Leftwich. Leftwich wanted Adrian Wilson, which is in the Cardinals front office, to be their GM. He didn't want to work with the guy that's there now, but the ownership decided to keep the GM they have now, and so he withdrew his name. So they went with Doug Pederson. So, but before Mike McDaniel and Lovie Smith, everyone that was hired again with the Flores suing stuff, it was all Caucasian coaches getting hired. Mike McDaniel is biracial. I don't know what the right terminology is, but he got hired, and then of course Lovie Smith, which is African American, he did get hired. I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping the Texans would just hire Brian Flores, but the thing is, they did like Josh McCown, but the problem with Josh McCown is he still has not coached in the NFL. And yes, you could say, as a backup QB, he's kind of coached for the last 10 years of his life, but he hasn't coached in the NFL. So if the Texans would have hired him, and it's reported that they very much like Josh McCown and they think he's going to be a very good head coach one day, but they didn't want to deal with the backlash of hiring a guy that has zero coaching experience. Only coaching experience he has is coaching high school football. So I get it. I think they should hire him as part of either offense coordinator or QB coach.
We got to start somewhere.
Yeah, he's got to start somewhere. So we'll see. So let's see. Jumping into before we jump into Alvin, the Commanders management believe that came out today that they are in a better place to pursue an upper QB than it was last season. So I guess they're willing to go out and trade or draft someone. So we'll be seeing with the offseason approaching and the draft approaching in a couple months that who the Washington Commanders go with. Let's see. So I guess the next thing we have to talk about is Alvin Kamara. So apparently Saturday night, so reading over it, he got into an altercation at a bar in Las Vegas. So this is the night before the Pro Bowl, and the police were called, and they were called, and it was determined that the victim was battered by the suspect. So it was pretty bad. He got beat up. I don't know if it's a guy or girl. I assume it's a guy. Because if it comes out to be a girl, then Alvin will probably never have a job again in the NFL.
Not necessarily. Look at Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, not necessarily. I was about to say that as I said that. But again, you can always go for every Kareem Hunt. There's always a Ray Rice. So I hope that didn't burn you a little too much there. But again, so they got called. They investigated, and then so Alvin was free to go. He played in the Pro Bowl, and then he was located and taken into custody last night. A little like 79 minutes after the Pro Bowl. So, what was your thoughts when that came out?
I was surprised. Alvin Kamara always seemed like he did dumb things, but it also seemed like he was humble and didn't try to get into trouble. And, man, you're like one of the top running backs in the league. You looked up by kids and people, and you can't be doing stuff like that.
Yeah. As soon when I first read it and I saw and read battery, I was like, oh no, Alvin. I hope he did not like hit his girlfriend or hit a girl or some. That was my first instinct, and I was like, oh, Alvin, no. But the more nothing really come out since then, but it just sounds like he was at a bar. I'm sure there was probably a couple guys that said stuff to him, and it got frisky and a fight broke out, and sounds like it says it resulted in substantial bodily harm. So I'm guessing it was a pretty good fight. So I don't know what is all going to come from that. Again, there hasn't been really anything else to come out from it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So for our last segment, because we really don't have much to talk about this week, the Super Bowl. So Kyle, were you surprised that the Bengals beat the Chiefs?
Oh, well, we talked about this last episode, but yeah, I was surprised. I thought the Chiefs would win, and Chiefs kept the ball going into overtime, but the Bengals, they intercepted the ball and they drove down the field and kicked the field goal and got themselves to a Super Bowl. I mean, Joe Burrow was just amazing, like we talked about in the last episode, but man, nothing is stopping him.
What were your thoughts on the Pro Bowl this year?
So I did not watch the Pro Bowl. I did watch some highlights, but it's literally like two-hand touch. It's like us playing in the backyard in high school. Like, I mean, I understand they don't want to get anyone hurt, but like, I don't know. Like, I did watch, like when I was watching the highlights, I did realize like that the stadium was pretty like sold out. Like there was tons of people there, but I'm like, at this point, like I don't even know why you would spend money to watch a two-hand touch in NFL football Pro Bowl. I get, all the Pro Bowls, the best players, some of the best players in the league are there, but like, I don't know, man.
Dude,
But the amount of people that end up like opting out, I was like, I don't even know if it would be worth like going. So like, oh my God.
They got to find something else to do.
The thing is, looking at all the major sports all-star games, out of all of them, baseball is probably the best because you actually have to pitch the ball. You can't just like barely throw it and let guys just tee off. Like they actually play. The unfortunate event of them actually playing is it's low scoring. Now, as we saw with the football last night, it pretty much turned into two-hand touch. Like, wasn't even worth it. Again, it is high scoring because no one tackles, no one tries to tackle. It's just like it's weak stuff. And then also with basketball it's no defense. Everyone, teams score 200 points in an NBA All-Star game. And then with the NHL, again, it's high scoring. People don't really try all that too often. So, like, I don't know. Out of all of them, baseball is probably the best. But like you said, they got to figure out some. I mean, at this point, I think I would rather watch, a 2K, Pro Bowl game over watching the actual Pro Bowl game, if that makes – or not 2K, EA Sports. I'd rather watch a Madden Pro Bowl simulation than watching the actual Pro Bowl.
Game. It's getting bad. People are just getting lazy.
Yep. So, but I think that's all we had to talk about. There's nothing really else that's come out, and we hit every topic. So, do you got anything else to add?
No, just have a wonderful night, guys, and enjoy Super Bowl. I don't know if we're gonna try. I don't know if we'll record before the Super Bowl or not, but if we don't, enjoy your Super Bowl, have a good party, and enjoy a great game. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I hope you have a great game. You enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to sitting, eating, and watching some football Sunday night. So, again, thank you for listening. With it being a shorter episode, we hope more people listen. So, all right, see ya.
See ya.